TMI. Confessionals of the Nerd Kind.
Ignorance is bliss indeed. Speaking of ignorance, I guess we're doing this, right? We're a little behind the eight, but well, it's only the second week.
The second week of this movie.
I feel like it was a month ago that I saw this movie, and I just saw it last Friday.
So you saw it on opening weekend?
I saw it on my birthday. October 4th. So yeah, opening weekend.
So what we're talking about is Joker Folieadeux. Folieadeux.
Which is already a misnomer.
It means madness between two, a shared delusion, which is quite fitting.
Yes and no. So here's the thing. We never really see what's going on in her head. Before we get into it, of course, Joker is Joker's our main feature.
Our main feature. And
can we just get buckets now?
We always love to pair our main features up with something creative and fun and something off the beaten path. Maybe not a lot of people have thought of or seen in a while.
This is off the beaten path.
Yes, it is. It's really off the beaten path. It's hard to come by. Well, it is streaming. I shouldn't say that, but
it is streaming. I watched it on Pluto, but there are apparently quite a few Blu-ray editions of this out there.
But they're international. They're not.
Is that what it is?
They're iffy because I got a copy of a DVD from my library. It was from China. So it was all on the cover in Chinese, and I'm like,
"Oh no, I can't."
This? So I put it in, but it plays in English. So
and it's a region one because
it's a region. It's all regions. So I think whoever made this in China realized that it was hard to come by, and they said, "We'll make this all region so we can sell more."
Let's give back to everybody who loved this movie.
Yes, and what the movie is, we have not announced it yet. Is Bugsy Malone.
Now, is this the Warren Beatty Bugsy Malone?
Warren Beatty Bugsy. That's Bugsy Siegel.
That's Bugsy Siegel.
And this is Bugsy Malone.
What's up with all these mobsters being named Bugsy? It's not a name you hear anymore.
No.
At some point, someone's like, you know what? Enough of this name.
Is it a self-given nickname, I wonder? Or do people just call you? Because it's not really a nickname if you bestow it upon yourself. Other people have to call it for it to become.
And my name's Frank. Just call me Bugsy. What? Really?
I like it.
Can I just call you Frank and be done with it? I'm Fat Sam. He did not name himself.
So this is another one, all showing our age. That is from our childhood. I've seen this countless times.
I have seen this. You're right, though. This was on HBO all the time.
Yeah. I knew all the songs. I haven't seen it in years, decades.
Oh, I love that. Well, that was like when we watched Popeye.
Yeah.
It's been years since I've seen it. And yet all you do is and you're like, holy crap. It just comes flooding back.
Yeah. I
will say there were most of this I do remember. This came out 76, so it probably dropped on HBO, 77, 78.
You see what we did there? Musical fantasy is the theme of today.
With a criminal element thrown in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some violence thrown in.
Well, it's a cream pie to the face. It's a splurge gun.
It's about as violent as a cream pie to the face can be. So
yeah, we'll get into it because it's actually pretty violent if you want to put it into that context.
The ramifications of the cream pie to the face are pretty serious in Bugsy Malone.
Until you get to the end sequence.
Yeah,
this is true. It's all for naught. It's like, wait a minute.
The same could be said. The same could be said of Joker. So,
all right, so let's get it. All right, so I don't really have any news per se. I find this bizarre that we go every 2 weeks now, and there's really nothing out there to talk about,
or nothing worth talking about.
Well, that's just it.
Right?
We could talk about
dredge something, but who wants to do that?
No, I mean, you want to find something that at least sparks a conversation.
Yeah,
I don't need to be talking to you and you just look at me with dead eyes. But I did want to bring up because we did elicit a response from a listener. And I'm not gonna dox him with his last name, but Anthony, who reached out to us via email, had listened to our Quiet Place 3, a day one movie review a while ago. Actually, that was episode 321.
Folie a day one, as it's called in.
exactly. Madness of three. That cat's. But apparently he had umbrage with your take that Little Caesar's pizza is better than Pizza Hut.
I still stand by that, but it's an opinion. Let me just say that.
Well, that's every episode, right?
Yeah.
Just two idiots sitting here talking to each other. Yes. I have never in my life had a Little Caesar's pizza, so I cannot. But I think it's two different pizzas. They're two completely different style.
Well, in the realm of fast food pizza, they are similar.
Well, Pizza Hut used to be elevated. It's not so much anymore, but
I don't have any Pizza Huts around me anymore. So I don't even have that option.
I have one right around the corner from my house, and I think I've eaten there once in the last 8 years.
It's the breadsticks that's the highlight of Pizza Hut.
Yeah, well, my waistline can do without the breadsticks. I get enough carbs out of my beer,
and my heart is no longer.
That's true. You get
tolerant of such things. But
so when you actually went to the doctor to and by the way, no Pizza Hut.
No, that is when they give you the thing of stuff you can't eat anymore. That is number one on the list.
That is number one.
Yeah.
I would think. Now I'd want it. Now I'd be like, you're telling me I can't have it. Now I want it. Screw you. Tell me what to do with my body. So anyways, I thought that was great that, yes, somebody is listening and he felt compelled enough to at least reach out to us.
Yes, thank you.
Pizza.
All right. So as you said, starting out, we are in Joker's second weekend.
Whew.
And
not a good weekend for Joker.
It was getting hammered in its first weekend by the press. So you saw opening night?
Yeah. Probably dropped. They probably had screenings Thursday. So
you saw it Friday.
And I saw it Friday, like 3:00 in the afternoon.
And I saw it Wednesday. So it's was past its opening weekend, but on a matinee. 3 other people in my theater.
Right.
But it was a noontime showing. So, it's not surprising. So I wasn't looking forward to watching this at all. I'm like, am I paying $10 to see something terrible, right?
So the buzz had already gotten to you.
The buzz had already gotten to me. I actually saw right before I went in, not that I'm looking for it, just, popped up on the news feed, that I normally look at.
Yeah.
It said James Gunn should be thankful that Joker 2 is not part of the new DCU. And that was the headline.
This is the world we live in now, which is, all it takes is one review or hey, I just came out of Joker last night and it's a piece of crap. And then you got 500 people who follow you on social media going, oh, I dodged a bullet. I'm not going to go see it now. And snowballs.
So I'm sitting there, before the thing starting, I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, 2 hours and 18 minutes.
2 hours and 18 minutes
of a crappy movie.
Yeah.
And then the thing starts.
Yes.
And I was enraptured for all of those 2 hours and 18 minutes. I loved it. I'm giving you my hand right now. I thought it was fantastic. And sitting there, I got angry. Who are these people and what are they expecting?
Did Todd Phillips send you a check?
It's a completely left field turn. It's well acted. Because another thing that I saw, another headline, well, Joker's off the Oscar list of contenders.
He should. I've actually saw headlines. He should give his Oscar back for the first movie. I'm like, that's not how this works.
And Lady Gaga are amazing in this.
Yeah.
And another headline I saw: do the makers of Joker 2 even know what a musical is? Which is a cheap shot. I consider this a musical after watching it.
It's a musical. It is. Yeah. They break into song more times than those silly people on those med commercials.
But it's in a way, it's songs that It's not like it's original songs that have to, seep into your head. It's almost like you could have seen this on the set list when Lady Gaga toured with Tony Bennett. It's like.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of Rat Pack style. Yeah. And there's a couple contemporary songs thrown in there as well. But the minute it opens with the Warner Brothers cartoon of the Joker, a la Bugs Bunny style, I'm like, all right, they are leaning into this.
And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I am in for this.
Yeah.
And I am giving it a chance now. As soon as I saw that opening and the cartoon.
Okay. Yes, I agree with you on that, which is I walked in And the buzz had already started because, like you said, there were no test screenings. So we'll talk a bit on the back end. But Todd Phillips, the first movie made $1 billion. So of course the studio is going to greenlit. They want a sequel. They wanted one 5 years ago. And Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix are like, well, let's figure out what we're going to do. At one point, I read this was actually going to be a Broadway musical.
It could very well be still. They could do it. Because this is really what this is. I think the reason a lot of people are taking umbrage with this is that it's a courtroom drama. It's a jailhouse / courtroom drama. There's no fight with Batman.
Well, there wasn't in the first one either.
No, there wasn't, but there's enough carnage going on that maybe people overlook that. And Bruce is in the first one. So they set that up, but Bruce is still a kid here, so there's no way that they could shoehorn that in, and nor I think that would they have wanted to.
No, this is a standalone movie. What I will say, the first one almost hits you like Pulp Fiction in the sense that you don't know what you're getting into when you walk into the theater. We honestly didn't know what we were going to get. And it is a well-crafted study of this character and the slow decline of Arthur Fleck. And you walk away at the end of that movie going, all right, was everything I was watching, was it all fantasy? Was it all in his head? Because at the end of the movie, he's running around in the loony bin with the guards chasing him. So you're left with the feeling that did I just watch 2 hours of, some crazy stuff going on in this guy's head? And when you get to this movie, it's like, no. Everything you saw happened.
And he's on trial for it. Everything that you saw happened.
So
and he has to
kind of lose that fantasy element a little bit when we're introduced to Lee, who is Lady Gaga's character, who we know as Harley Quinn. And it goes into these singing dance sequences. I mean, okay, so this is clearly back into his head, but you're right. It's a court drama and it's a musical. And I have to say that kudos for them to take everything that was established in the first movie and be like, you know what, we're going to blow this thing up. Let's do something completely different.
And I don't think it lost the element of, is this real or is this not? Because as you remember in the first one, and she comes back on the stand as a witness in this one, the woman that he thinks is his girlfriend. And there's a whole sequence in the first movie where they have a relationship that was in his head. I was waiting for them to reveal that the Lee Harley Quinn character was not real at the end.
Yeah, Tyler Durden a la Fight Club.
Right. Yeah. They didn't go there. Spoiler, they don't go there. But there is an element of fantasy to their relationship anyway. Yeah. Discounting even the musical numbers.
Yeah, and you're right, though. The musicals, you are right in like that Rat Pack era. You got the Frank Sinatra stuff going on, and it's fun. There's the one sequence where it's almost like they have their own talk show, and they come out and do a little duet or whatever,
like a Sonny and Cher kind of a deal. Yeah. Well, I was wondering to myself, because the song that they do is "To Love Somebody" by the Bee Gees. I'm thinking it would have been perfect if they had done "I Got You, Babe," right? But I wonder if they couldn't get the rights to that for whatever reason.
I don't know. So the one thing
before we go on, I just want to talk about a couple of trailers.
Okay.
They're mostly R-rated stuff.
Yes, Red Band, movie.
Not counting the new Captain America, which I saw again. But one trailer came up, and I didn't know what it was initially. It just says from the director of The Invisible Man and the producer of The Black Phone. I'm like, two of my most hated movies from the past 3 years.
Black Phone
I
2?
am like throwing this out the door already, and it came up as the Wolf Man, and I'm like, The
Wolf Man? I didn't see that.
Yeah. And then another one came up, which was Robert Pattinson in a
yes. This is Bung Ho June.
Yeah, Mickey 17 is the name of the movie.
Butchering his name. But this looks fascinating.
It looks fascinating, but I don't buy Robert Pattinson as like a sci-fi dork. I don't think that that's great casting.
I actually
cannot make this guy ugly or dorky looking.
But I didn't recognize him initially in those sequences. I think, listen, After
it looks good. Don't get me wrong.
After Tenet and then seeing him in Batman, I'm like, I'm kind of on board with this guy. He is shedding his little silvery vampire persona.
Yeah, but I think they could have got somebody that was more looked more the part than him.
So you're judging based on his looks.
I am.
So I agree with you. Initially, this is mesmerizing. And if you thought the first one was dark, this gets very dark.
The whole thing is about, duality, right? Catherine Keener plays the lawyer of,
and she drove me nuts because the whole movie, I'm like, man, I know who she is. I know
she's in
she
everything, right?
She was the main girlfriend in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
But from this opening fake Bugs Bunny cartoon, and it's great. It's one of those, they try to model it on one of the early Bugs Bunny Warner Brothers
the old
cartoons,
Tex Avery almost,
where you always used to have like the 30s movie stars being represented in the cartoons and stuff. And Joker is like rolling up in a limo to the red carpet, and like he's the host of the show that what was the guy's name that he shot that Robert De Niro played? Murray, right?
Murray, yeah.
Yep. So he's the host of this talk show. The fake cartoon is called Me and My Shadow. So it sets up that the crazy one, the Joker personality, is the shadow that separates itself from Arthur, and Arthur's trying to get it back, and it's the shadow that's doing all the crazy Joker, all the cool, crazy Joker stuff, and Arthur just becomes a shell of himself without it. And then at the end, the two things merge, and then Arthur becomes the Joker. And then when that transitions into the movie, you see Arthur going to trial, and his lawyer is trying to get him. It's not an issue of getting him back out on the street. They're just trying to get him out of this Arkham Asylum, which is, just miserable, and into a normal psychiatric facility. So to try to prove that he was out of his mind when he did what he did in the first movie. And her defense is that the Joker is a separate entity from Arthur Fleck. And she tries to sell this defense on him.
This is Primal Fear. What was the movie?
That was the Edward Norton movie?
Ed Norton movie, yeah. Yeah, because this duality goes throughout this whole movie, which is, all right, this is the question. Is this Joker just him, or is it a separate personality altogether? And by and large, when he's in that asylum, he's very like he's beaten down. He's he's emaciated.
Terrible. It is Arkham Asylum, correct? Am I not?
I don't think that they showed it per se, but you're led to believe. And you mentioned Batman before, and there's a couple little Batman references thrown in. Like at one point, they usher him past the B ward, which is I took it as Burt Ward from
right,
I was looking for the A West Wing or something, but they didn't go that deep. There are sequences where that stupid laugh that he does, and it's almost like he's trying to jumpstart this persona to get it going.
But doesn't he do that involuntarily? Didn't they set that up in the first movie that it's like almost like narcolepsy where he can't help it?
Well, it did seem like it was forced a couple times.
Well, because remember when he was on the train and the guys, when the Joker first came out in the first movie, when he was on the train and he was attacked, it was because he couldn't stop
laughing.
That forced laughing because it was involuntary, and they thought that
I did not go back and rewatch the original Joker before doing this. But that's where we're introduced to Lee. And in the comics, I think she's a psychiatrist who,
Yeah, they set that up. They said that she went to some fancy, I forget which one, some fancy college and studied psychiatry. So they were trying to make a correlation to the comic book character.
Right, which is fine. I don't need her exact origin story. But you do find out that, she's not all you expect her to be, and she's kind of leading him on.
Not yet, because in the beginning you think that she is just in love with him, right? Because the nightmare scenario that Arthur Fleck finds himself in this asylum, you see like every morning he does like the lineup, and they got to empty their chamber pots into some giant sink. It's really like a grim existence.
Yeah.
And so I guess he's behaved well enough that they allow him to go to chorus with the
with the other wing,
with other less criminal patients.
Right. But he's got obviously this is like the story of the century. This guy killed 5 people. We found out later, 6. But it's like, so he's celebrity number 1 behind bars. And so she immediately, it's like she's smitten with him.
Yeah, and she's in chorus, right? So
which makes sense. If you're Lady Gaga, I'd be singing in the.
Yeah, so back and forth. When he first meets his lawyer, he walks past the chorus room and he sees her, and they lock eyes. He is trying to get back to her by joining this chorus group. So that's how their love of music comes into their relationship.
And their love of cigarettes. I have never seen so many people smoke in my entire life. Not since Pompeii exploded. For the longest time, it was like you didn't want to depict people smoking on screen. And now all of a sudden, it's like there's not a single person without a cigarette in this movie. But I want to bring up Brendan Gleeson, who plays the chief security guard, Sullivan. And he's fantastic.
He is, because he turns on a dime. He turns from likable to just like the most evil guy that you can imagine.
So, I mean, I have family who work in these type of facilities, and the people that they must deal with on a daily basis really must just turn you off to humanity. Like, it's got to sour you, but and he does go out of his way to kind of make Arthur somewhat, he's the one who got him into the singing group.
But I
think Sullivan wanted to get in there more than anybody else.
The scene that makes me think that he could go either way at any given moment is that after Arthur goes to that first chorus class and they're walking back, just the two of them, to his cell, Arthur appreciatively puts his hand on his back.
And he smacks him in the back of the head. Yeah, don't touch me. Yeah.
In response, he wails on him.
Well, that's like tough love. But then,
well, don't give me that love.
I know. No, you know what? I don't need it. But don't touch me. You do build up sympathy for this character, but at the same time, you don't. Like, it's never clear that this Joker persona is somehow in control. It's not. I don't know.
Well, I think that they established that at the end, that there is no other persona.
That's what turns her off. So what we haven't gotten to is that there's like that whole cult, and we saw it in the first movie as well. There's a whole cult of people who are latching onto this thing, and you can point to current events in our history right now going on where people become obsessed with a persona that is larger than life, and they don't care what he says or does. They just he is an agent of chaos. Whether he started it or not, people are using him as an excuse to create mayhem.
The scene where, again, going back to this first time that Arthur Fleck and Harley Quinn meet in the chorus class, they have a break in the class and they take a smoke break, right? Obviously she knows who he is already.
Right.
She tells him that she set fire to her parents' apartment building.
Yeah.
And then, in response, he goes, well, I killed 5 people, actually 6, my mother too, but nobody knows about that one.
Yeah. Okay.
And then she says,
for a mistrial.
And then she says, and this is a joke that keeps coming back, I watched that TV movie about you 20 times. So apparently this really infamous TV movie was made about Arthur that it would be great if you got to see at least a scene of that.
Well, so I think because you're right, it gets mentioned multiple times and then you find out that she lied about it. And then somebody in the courthouse actually makes comment about that horrible made for TV movie.
And then he turns around like, was it horrible? And she's like,
right. Because she's telling him it was great. Yeah. And I'm like, you find out she's lying to him the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, she just wants access to this Joker character as well. And the minute she finds out that he is, in fact, it's just me. It's just me. Like, she's like, I'm out of here then. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
It does to me because she's in love with the fantasy. She's a groupie.
Just like the other.
She's a Joker groupie.
But he's still the access, but you're not going to go outside and find a Joker.
She only likes him while he's in prison. Now that he's out and he faces her, she's like, no, this is too much now. I liked you when you were in prison. We're making fake plans. So that just shows her persona is more cracked than she was even making herself out to be to begin with.
Right, because she lied. You find out, right. You find out she lied to get in there. to get close to him. She's telling him what he wants to hear. But you do see at one point when they tried to escape that she sets the room on fire. So you're establishing that she's a firebug. So later at the end of the movie, when the courthouse gets bombed, you immediately said, well, she did it. She's now found out that but it's not the case at all. Again, it's just these wackos in clown masks that causing chaos. We're going to free him. Where's he going to go? I don't know. But there's so many questionable, like he fires his attorney and then the judge allows him to represent himself and allows him to don the Joker.
Which is persona. Funny because he says when he allows him, you're not going to make a mockery of my core. And he points to his makeup. It's too late for that. I'm like, you're right. It is too late for that, judge.
Yeah. And it doesn't make it makes no sense. This is where.
But that's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. It doesn't matter. That's
what you want to see.
It doesn't make any sense.
But now again, I'm re-questioning, is what I'm watching really, is this, because like you said, the made for TV movie happens multiple times and you never see it. You never see any reference of it or whatever. And that's because this entire movie is told from his point of view. You never see what's going on in her head. Because so even the title of this movie, Madness of Two, they're not sharing the same madness.
You do. This will reward you on subsequent viewings because you know that she's faking it the entire time. She's living the fantasy. This is her madness. You do see what was in her head the whole time, which is a lie.
She just wants to, I don't know. She lied to him about being pregnant.
Yeah. And just like any musical, just like Bugsy Malone, you're not supposed to take it too, of course you can question every plot point of Bugsy Malone because it's a musical. So it gives itself an out. So
you're telling me
all this
that
crazy stuff that's going on.
Are you telling me I took this too seriously?
No, because I think it deserves to be taken seriously. But I think just because of the madness of the character, that allows for stretches of believability.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't help but compare it to the first one. And the first one was pitch perfect because you really didn't. To me, it almost negated everything in the first movie.
Well, I think that this was pitch perfect. I think that what you said earlier is it's what hit it on the head. It's its own thing. Yeah. I think
I laud them. I absolutely laud them because so going back again, Joker comes out of nowhere 2019.
Yep.
And this thing literally made $1 billion. Now, for everyone involved creatively, it was a one and done. No, we did this. This was greenlit because the studio execs were like, there's too much money left on the table. So that first movie only had a budget of $55 million. This one was $190 million.
Mostly because Phoenix now wanted to get paid because he knew how much that first one.
Why not? And he's just as involved as Phillips as far as crafting this character.
Phillips had a big paycheck as well.
And you're walking off with an Academy Award. Of course, I want my $20 million.
Yeah, and you got one of the biggest musical stars.
She got $12 million. That's still a hell of a lot of money for not much going on.
So I think here's their error in terms of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could have had much better box office because the people, even though there's only 3 of them, in my theater, they were middle-aged women that were obviously there for the musical Gaga element. And I think because what this movie is, in the trailers that I saw, it didn't feature any songs. So it just kind of played it as a Joker, like the first Joker kind of a movie.
Right.
I think if they promoted this as what it is, with songs like A Star Is Born or Moulin Rouge or in Australia, I think it would have done better than what it is. You're marketing to the wrong audience.
Which is weird because, don't come out and tell me it's not a musical because it is. I mean, you got characters breaking in the song. It doesn't matter that it's all
so
in
you
his
get
head.
People coming in there that are expecting blood, carnage, people getting shot in the head. Yeah, they're not going to like it. They're going to give it terrible cinema scores because it's not what they expect.
I don't know. I think the songs, there's too many of them.
I loved it. I was looking forward to the next one. That's life. For once in my life, like Burt Bacharach is getting a huge check from this movie. To Love Somebody. If my friends could see me now, on the Carnival Cruise theme song.
Didn't even pick up on it.
the I'm gonna build me a mountain. It just keeps going on and on and on. And I loved it. They were great. And the thing is that they're singing live through this. If you notice, it's not just canned singing. There's one scene where Arthur is in the prison, whatever community room, and they're watching TV, and he, in a fantasy sequence, he goes around, everybody's sitting down, and he sings. It's one shot. Yeah, and he's singing the entire song live.
Shot. You are correct. That I didn't put that in my notes, but that was actually well orchestrated. And the one thing we didn't talk about, there's this other character. I don't even know if he has a name, but he's kind of like this little kid lackey that follows Arthur around in the prison yard, who actually has a pretty big scene at the end of this movie. Yeah. And so now all of a sudden you're left, wait a minute, are they pulling the rug out from underneath you? And you're like, well, no, all this time, this movie was Joker, not the Joker.
Well, two different characters. There's one character that's always in the background, that's just like smirking to himself. And there's the other guy that is the lackey that actually has dialogue that's on the table. No, it's not the kid.
Oh, okay. I missed. Okay. Yeah, I missed that altogether because it didn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, the camera lingers on one guy sitting all the way in the back, two different actors.
Okay, all right. I thought it was that character. I thought it was the kid that was following him around and just wanted to be bonded. Just
because that kid dies at one point, doesn't he? And that kind of sets Arthur.
Well, apparently, I don't remember that. Yeah, if that's the case. Yeah. There's some dark stuff going on here, but we get Harvey Dent, which is also at least a nod to the Batman universe, and I'm assuming his facial scars from the bomb.
Well, it didn't look like he was that messed up, right?
No, not to the point where we've seen Two-Face before in the past.
He's gone through some stuff, Harvey Dent. If this isn't the thing that blew his face off,
yeah. I'm still sad we never really got a Billy D. Williams Two-Face. Because he played Harvey Dent in the first Batman, the 89 Batman, didn't he?
He did, yeah. So there was foreshadowing in that, but it never came to fruition, unfortunately.
So I think we're about as far apart on this one as we have been in quite some time.
Captain Marvel, I think, comes to mind.
Captain Marvel. So this is in its second week, and it is 82%. It has plummeted.
I really do think that this is going to become a huge cult movie. Once it finds the right audience, once it gets on streaming, I think people are going to reassess.
Well, that's because again, you get bad reviews. You get these knuckleheads that are out there going, I don't like this. And then months later, people watch it and they're like, holy shit, I thought this was great.
Yeah.
Why is everyone crapping on it? So, and we say it all the time, just go see it for yourself. We're just two knuckleheads with opinions. Although I will say, I sat through this whole movie with my friend Frank, and there was a fair amount of people in my theater. And when the credits rolled, we looked at each other and we were just like, "What the fuck was that?"
Well, you see, I was like Robert De Niro on Cape Fear, like standing up, applauding. Hey, going to the women behind me.
Yeah, I actually wrote in my notes, I think the true Joker is anyone who actually paid to see this.
Well, then I'm the Joker then, because I freaking loved it. I was painting my face as I was watching this movie.
I am thrilled that you liked it because
I was parading back and forth my aisle, doing the high kicks just like he does on the stairs.
You fighting with your shadow? Even Gaga's album is somehow suffering from this thing.
Again, I think history is going to be kind to this. I just think it has not found its audience. And this is going to be a midnight movie. I predict that this will be a midnight movie. There will be sing-alongs to this movie.
Oh, look at you. Put that in the magic jar right now. Prediction.
And I bet over time you will come around and you will say, that's not too bad.
Yeah, listen, I've been wrong. I'll admit the first time I'm wrong.
Although, you know what I was thinking, that this owes more than a little debt to natural born killers, because even to go as far as there's that infamous scene before Robert Downey Jr. was Robert Downey Jr. He plays the Australian reporter who hosts like a current affair type show. Yep. That interviews Woody Harrelson's killer in prison. And it's a very tense back and forth. And Steve Coogan gets that same role here where he interviews Arthur Fleck, and the whole thing, you know, the whole prison romance.
Who would allow that the eve of your trial and you're going on national TV in an interview? No, you keep your mouth shut because you're going to purge yourself.
Well, he purged himself many times when he just was saying stuff off the cuff, like throughout that whole trial.
Just the fact that they found out there were 6 murders and not 5, wouldn't that just automatically create a mistrial?
Well, I think from what they were trying to prove is that he is crazy. He's not just criminal. Well, he's crazy. So let's get him in a real facility.
I don't think they went that far. I don't think I saw that he was insane.
As the movie comes together, and this is so heartbreaking about the character, especially in light of what happens to him at the end, is that he says at one point, "I'm different now. I'm not alone anymore." You know, because I'm not broken anymore.
But again, their relationship is a lie.
So not as far as he knows.
But at what point does he find out that?
That's the heartbreaking thing.
She does the minute she finds out, when he's standing there in front of that jury and says, "I am the Joker. This is me. We are one and the same." Like she was like, "Well, I'm out of here."
Batman, you know probably more about the world than I do, just in general, right? Okay. So they often say during the court case, State of New York versus Arthur Fleck. Is Gotham in New York?
Gotham. So I believe that, no, there is no New York in the DC universe. You have Metropolis, which I believe is representative of New York City, and Gotham is Chicago. And that's why a lot of times these movies, when they depict Gotham City, it's shot in Chicago.
Right.
So if you look at a map, if you look at a U.S. map of the DC universe, there is no New York City. As far as I know, I could be wrong. Like there's Bloodhaven and there's all these. So, but you're right. They kept saying New York. I guess Gotham is in New York. I guess
in this universe. Yeah, in this universe.
I've actually never heard of them refer to it in an actual state.
Another tease of Lee's or Harley Quinn's true intentions takes place the first day of the hearing of the trial, where he's looking for her in the audience and he can't find her, and she's outside singing "That's Entertainment." I think that's a tip of the hat, and like it's more hammered home the second time you're watching it that what she feels about this entire thing is like she just likes the spectacle. She's not there for him, you know.
No, but the fact that they even allowed her in it, this is like the court case of the century.
Yeah, but she can't sing the songs if they don't allow her in. The plot cannot go forward if they don't allow her in.
Well, listen, we gotta let her in.
Yeah,
she's got a musical.
I mean, why doesn't Dapper Dan go after Fat Sam when he's only got one stooge? He doesn't. But the movie's got to go on.
Hold on, he's got the 4 cardboard cutouts. We're not going to let you get us down. So
was that his name, Dapper Dan, or
Dapper Dan? Yeah, little kids with mustaches. I'm not a big fan of. But we'll get there on that one. Okay, so this end sequence where this kid shanks him. He's back in prison, and they tell me as a visitor.
But we're fast forwarding. This is after Harley Quinn at the end of the trial, right? So Arthur Fleck fires Catherine Keener.
Yep.
And he's going to represent himself. And of course, he does so as the Joker in full regalia.
He's able to put that face makeup on exactly the same every time.
And you see him preparing it in one scene for it, right? He has his closing statement is, and I think it's the little guy. What was his name from the first movie that he spares?
Yeah. Because he has a funny name, Puddles.
Yes, his last name is Puddles.
And he actually says, "That's your real name? Is that really your name?"
So he takes the stand, and this is a great actor. He's like, because this is the same actor from the first movie that Arthur spares. You think, and it's a really scary moment in the first movie.
But that's after he witnesses Arthur beating the crap out of this other person.
Yeah. So the guy says, Arthur, I can't sleep anymore because you haunt me, and I'm the only one that stood by you. I never made fun of you. And this kind of takes all the wind out of Arthur's sails. He's like the Joker persona is completely deflated after this guy has his
because the whole point is I don't ever had any friends. I have nothing.
Yeah, and he realizes what he did to this guy, and this guy never turned his back on him, and he's hurt him.
You don't know what it's like to be bullied and ridiculed. It's
like, so
well, yeah, no, I do actually. Hold on.
Yeah.
Do I have a conscience?
So now, Arthur, that just takes the wind out of his sails, that testimony. You know what? The Joker is me. We're both the same person. I am not a separate personality. And almost on cue is when the explosion happens.
Well, she gets up and walks out.
She gets out and walks out because she's disgusted.
But that's when the bomb
happens. She's in love with the Joker. She's not in love with Arthur Fleck.
And that's why I thought, all right, we're bringing this full circle. And that was her that did this.
No, it's not the case. It's just one of his many minions out there dressed as him.
That could have easily just as killed him as actually.
So now,
him.
But you're thinking, okay, this is now the birth of the Joker that we all know from lore, right? Because everybody is either dead or unconscious in the courtroom.
Yeah, he crawls out of the rubble. These two knuckleheads throw him in the back of the car.
That are dressed as him, throw him in the back of their car, saying, get down.
Which is a nice throwback to the first, was it Dark Knight? They go back to the Nolan Batman, where we were first introduced to them all wearing the Joker masks and stuff.
Arthur's not saying anything. He's just like hiding in the back.
No,
seat.
he's like his ears are still ringing because.
And these two, you hear them talking to each other. Oh, the city's going to burn. The city's going to burn.
Yeah, it's chaos. He's an agent of chaos. He has unleashed this.
So you're thinking, okay, now he's going to become this criminal. He's going to find Harley Quinn. He's going to become the criminal mastermind that we all know. No, he jumps out of the car.
I would have actually liked that better.
Well, I know everybody would have liked that better. I'm sure. Except me. So
you appreciated this,
but staying true.
I love the fact that you love this.
Staying true to the fact that he just had this epiphany in the courtroom, right? Because if he didn't have that epiphany, then the door would have been wide open.
All on board, yeah. So Puddles ruined it for you.
Puddles ruined it. So he jumps out of the car. He just wanders the streets until he finds that same stairway that he danced on in the first movie. And there's Harley Quinn.
Who is there? Yeah.
Waiting for him.
Smoking a cigarette.
So he's
you're
like,
pregnant. You just told me you're pregnant. Don't be smoking that cigarette.
Yep. So he's like, now we can start this. You told me that you got us an apartment, that you made us a home, that you were pregnant. It's like, nope, sorry. That was when you were in jail. That was when you were the Joker.
This is kind of like, I did all of this for you.
And then she leaves like, sorry, we're done. And then the police show up. So I'm like, did she even call the police on him? Because she knew that he was gonna show up there.
I did love the fact that these police cars are old school 1980s New York City marked the blue and white, the light blue and white,
a la Blues Brothers police car.
yeah, basically that time frame. Yeah. In other words, so this character has lived a full life of nothing.
Nope. And this is just one more humiliation he has to endure.
Yeah. So there's no redemption arc. Well, I mean, in his head, I guess he gets that in that moment with Puddles, as you point out, but it doesn't he never gets a chance to manifest it. It's not like I'm going to be a good person now and right the wrongs.
No, he goes back to jail. He goes right back to jail. And this is now we can talk about that scene at the very end where he's back in the community room. They're watching TV and he gets a call from one of the guards. You've got a visitor. Does he have a visitor, or maybe did the guard set this up?
I think I want to say that this is one big setup.
But you're also thinking in your head, is it her?
Is it her? Right.
Yeah.
And she's 8 months pregnant or something.
Is she the visitor?
Yeah.
So he goes and he's walking down this hallway where there's no guards. And
the guard actually goes through the door before he's even down the hallway.
Yep. And the other prisoner who you saw earlier sitting in the background, and the camera lingers on for just a second, follows him out. And he tells him a joke about a sad clown. Yeah.
This is a running joke because throughout the movie, especially early on, they're like, hey, Arthur, you got a joke for me today? And he's just like, yeah, no, it's fine. I'm not going to make you laugh. Mm-hmm. This was not funny. Tells him a couple jokes and then shanks him.
Stabs him several times in the stomach.
Yeah. And he slumps over. And as the camera pans in on his face, and I'm always impressed with people who can play dead, because you got involuntary nerves, your eye twitches, or you're trying to hold your breathing. But what you'd see off in the corner, out of focus, is what I thought at first was the kid licking the blood off the knife.
I think maybe he does that, and then he starts to cut himself.
Carve his face, carve a smile into his face. And so you're like, holy shit, is this whole thing been one big setup for a Joker that we didn't even know existed? But you never know, because it cuts to black. And I guess Todd Phillips has said, well, we kind of threw that in there. We actually wanted him to do this in the first movie. And Christopher Nolan said, no, only my Heath Ledger Joker carves his face up. But of course, now he's no longer associated with this. And so like, well, screw it, we're going to do it. So it's just kind of thrown in there at the end that this guy's disease has been picked up by somebody else.
I assume that this takes place a matter of months after the first movie, the events of the first movie. Because it's the trial of what happened in the first movie.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So Bruce Wayne is still a kid during the events of Joker 2.
Right.
So, but this guy that shanked Arthur is a young man. He's probably in his late 20s. There's probably, a 10, 12 age difference between what we saw as Bruce Wayne in the first movie and who this new Joker is going to be. So it's a possibility.
It's so this does, you mentioned this at the top. It does fall under the new DC Elseworld banner. So this has no connection whatsoever to this James Gunn DC universe that they're establishing. So it exists as is. At this point, Phillips has said, I'm taking my money and running. I don't want anything more to do with this universe. And, James Gunn and Peter Safran are doing everything in their power to kind of create this cohesive Marvel universe under the DC banner. So I don't think you're ever going to see these characters again. They don't even want to do a sequel, a third movie for Wonder Woman. They don't.
Yeah, I think that's dead. I think they're like,
which is too bad. I mean, don't get me wrong. 84 was a steaming pile of caca, and you and I were both in agreement on that one. But you got, this is right down there with Black Adam, Shazam 2, and The Flash. Like they just don't exist. They don't matter now. Even Aquaman 2, like everything that they established.
But those, I think, especially now after seeing this, I think that these two Joker movies no way be associated with Black Adam or Shazam 2.
They are elevated art. This is very much an art flick, and it is a vanity piece for Joaquin Phoenix.
I think that if you loved A Star Is Born and whatever else Lady Gaga has sung in, you will love this movie. I think that this movie is for you.
You probably want to hear her sing a little bit more. I will tell you, and premature ejaculation is nothing to laugh at. And they played it for a joke. You can cut that out. I'm sure you will.
There is also a bit of a hint that Gaga or Harley Quinn is not all that she seems during that Sonny and Cher number where they're singing to love somebody and suddenly the music stops and he's like, what are you doing? You're making this all about you. And she kind of blows it off. No, it's all about them. And she, gestures to the audience. Yeah.
So, no, there's a lot of subtleties going on here. It was too much for me. I wanted more. I was sad he died because I want more songs. I want a Joker
Folie à Deux.
Well, maybe it was just a flesh wound. Maybe he did die.
Maybe. Well, yeah. Maybe he was still, sputtering and what have you when the camera panned off of him. So
yes. I don't like movies like, especially this, where it's getting enough crap online.
Yeah, I don't like you. But, I don't like you on this either. I loved it. All right, I'm going to go. I've already said, the reasons why. I thought it was fantastic. I love the music. I am considering downloading the soundtrack. And cool. I'm going to give this 4.5 buckets.
Okay. That's solid. That is, if anybody listens to this on a show on a regular basis, Jim is very stingy with his buckets.
And that's out of 5.
Out of 5. I am going right down the middle. I'm going to give it 2.5.
2.5.
You actually, and you talked me up half a bucket.
Oh,
I was not on board with this. I was kind of like,
watch it again in 2 years.
I won't even wait 2 years. It'll drop on Max.
It will. It'll in no time, and I can't wait for that.
I almost wonder if watching both of them back to back will give me a better experience. Listen, I applaud the artistic integrity that they just tried something completely different. We're not just going to rehash what you saw in the first one. I mean, the world's still established. It's dark. It's dirty. This character, like I said, in the first movie, you really spent most of that movie questioning what was real and what wasn't. Here, it's established outside of the songs that everything is real. Everything that you saw in that first movie happened. So, that was my takeaway.
Another selling point for me is, and I've said this many times, we've both said it many times, if you go into a movie with low or no expectations, sometimes you're bound to be not disappointed. So that may have figured in as well. Yeah.
Like I said, I went opening weekend. There was buzz already, but not like it's been the last week. I mean, the vitriol is just ridiculous. And again, go see it for yourself. Oh, steamy dog pile. I'm not going to watch it. Okay, well, thanks. Now I don't need to see it. Okay.
And Academy voters, I hope, are doing the same, because I think that it's terrible if these two performances are ignored.
I think he already got his for the first one. They are not even going to consider it. And I don't know. I don't know how they feel about Gaga. She's already didn't she get a nomination for
Star is Born?
No, it was the one with it is Star is Born. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's a movie's been remade so many times. I immediately just think Chris Christopherson when I hear the name of that movie. Barbra Streisand. So.
All right. So let's move on. I am treating this week at the concession stand.
All right. And I'm very intrigued to see what you...
All right. So...
Moon pies?
Well, no, I tried the musical tie-in with the concession treat this week.
What, the waxy harmonica you used to get?
No.
In your
there was nothing that resonated. Nothing that resonated.
Pop
I
whistle?
did find some things, but nothing that resonated.
It's like pop whistles.
So instead, I looked squarely at being inspired by Joker rather than Bugsy Malone.
Okay.
So what does the Joker do involuntarily that we just discussed? Laugh.
Are we going Laffy Taffy?
No. And what is another word? The cousin of laughter?
Chuckles.
The snicker.
Wow, you really did. You dug deep on that one. We have not covered Snickers?
We have not. And the Snickers bar,
okay,
it is plural.
It is plural. Well, there's more than one Snicker in it.
Is the #1 candy bar in the United States. Selling wise.
Snickers bar.
Yep.
Even, I don't know. Where's peanut butter cups fall on that?
Well, that's not considered a bar. This is, on the candy bar list.
Gotcha. All right. Semantics.
Snickers? If you're not a fan of peanuts, then you probably have never eaten a Snickers.
Or if you're allergic to it, you want to stay away from it.
Well, I wouldn't think that maybe you're a fan, and can you be a fan of peanuts and be allergic, or no, it's not.
I would think that if you as a kid had peanuts and had an anaphylactic shock, and you would not be a fan.
I admire the peanut, but I am allergic to them.
Yes, there you go. I can appreciate it.
Mr. Peanut is very dapper, let me tell you.
He is dapper.
Yeah.
Nobody wears a monocle anymore, by the way.
Well, Mr. Monopoly does. They've cornered the market, Mr. Peanut and Mr. Monopoly.
Didn't Pringles wear one at one point as well?
Yes, Mr. Pringles. Well, is that Mr. Pringles?
Well, I assumed his name was Mr. Pringles. He's right there.
But we digress. Snickers.
Colonel Clink? No. Okay, we're keep going.
It is a chocolate bar consisting of nougats topped with caramel and peanuts, all encased in a thick layer of milk chocolate. Nougats now. Let me just as an aside.
Nougat.
Traditionally, nougat is a confection made with either sugar or honey, roasted nuts, could be almonds, walnuts, pistachios, hazelnuts, whatever, whipped egg whites, and sometimes candied fruit. So just that in itself sounds very
fruit.
Sounds kind of healthy, right? It doesn't sound like homogenized or whatever.
Right.
That is traditional nougat. The nougat today differs. So what you're looking at is a mixture of sucrose and corn syrup. Already you've got some foreign
Yum.
thing.
Keep going.
Aerated with a whipping agent, such as hydrolyzed soya protein or gelatin, and it may also include vegetable fats and milk powder. So it's no longer the innocent mixture that it used to be. And that is the mixture that you'll find in a Snickers, unfortunately.
I get my whipping agents from Madam Nina.
Aerated whipping agents.
Aerated. Okay.
But the Snickers is, even though it is the top-selling candy bar, it is not a Hershey product.
Mars,
yes, Mars. Correct. Very good. It was invented by Mars in 1930, so it's been around. It's been around the block.
Almost coming up on 100 years.
Mm-hmm. And it was named after the Mars family's favorite horse, Snickers. That's a great horse name, as a matter of fact.
How would you come up with a name? Like, I could see people naming a horse Snickers now because he's brown. And you're like, oh, he's just like the candy bar. But the horse came first.
Maybe he actually snickered, you know?
I'd like to introduce you to the Nay bar. Yeah. All right. So a candy bar named after a horse.
After a horse, yeah.
Great.
Hey, well, it's, just as good as being named after your daughter, Dustin Hoffman, just like the Tootsie Roll was. But
they should have named the glue Snickers.
Initially marketed in the UK and Ireland as the Marathon Bar.
I have heard of the Marathon. Don't we have the Marathon Bar here?
We do. So this is interesting. In 1990, the Marathon Bar in the UK and Ireland was changed to also be named Snickers like it was in the US, so it's consolidarity.
Okay.
Because a lot of UK candy bars are the same thing as what we have here, but they're named differently for whatever reason.
Even Canada's the same way.
There is an unrelated product in the U.S. called the Marathon. So that's another reason they changed the name from Marathon in the UK. So it's all one thing. There's versions that have dark chocolate. There's the mini versions that are very popular on Halloween and you'll find in your Halloween bag.
Yeah.
White chocolate version. I'm not a white chocolate fan.
White chocolate should not exist. It's
Maybe one day we'll cover that, but that's another discussion. The Snicker ice cream bar, which is basically a Snickers bar that you put in the freezer.
They're freezing. Mm-hmm. You can actually buy them in a freezer section now.
Yes, you can.
A lot of grocery stores actually.
If you go to a gas station, you can get like a big...
Sure. Well, you also think they probably got a longer shelf life, too. Mm-hmm. Putting them in there.
The ad campaigns of Snickers, it's always been marketed as being a very hunger-satisfying treat.
Yeah. Snicker satisfies.
That is one of the biggest lines, right? Yeah. In the 90s, a lot of Snickers ads, for whatever reason, had famous athletes in them. Munching on the Snickers bar, it showed, the commercials would show them getting energy from the Snickers bar. There's another famous one, not going anywhere for a while, grab a Snickers. Yeah. So like somebody in jail, I don't know.
Arthur Fleck.
There was the famous ad with Godzilla water skiing.
I do remember that.
There's controversy. Snickers has had controversy over the years. Oh, boy. The king-size phase-out. In the UK, there was a movement over reducing portion size, getting clearer food labels, and reduction of the levels of fat, sugar, and salt. And this was put into place by the FDF, which was the Food and Drink Federation in the UK. So Mars, in response to this, pledged to phase out their king-size bars in 2005 and replace them with shareable bars. Mars at the time said, our king-size bars that come in one portion will be changed so they are shareable or can be consumed on more than one occasion. The name king-size will be phased out.
So they're just rebranding.
Yeah. So the king-size was then replaced by the Duo, which is a double bar pack.
Twix.
It reduced the weight from 3.5 to 3.29 ounces, but the price remained the same.
Oh, that's shrinkflation right there.
And they're in the same package, so...
Well, once you open that package...
Are you only going to eat one and then just, I'll save this one for later? No.
Yeah, no,
you're going to shove two of them in your mouth like a chipmunk at the same time.
This is like McDonald's, supersizing. It's like, we're going to fool you into thinking you're getting more, but you're paying less.
In Australia, there was controversy. In late 2000, tens of thousands of Snickers and Mars bars were removed from South Wales store shelves due to a series of threatening letters, which resulted in fears that all the Mars bars had been poisoned.
Was this was brought on by the Horses family, by the way, Snickers family.
Mars had received letters from an unidentified person that said that they planned to plant poison chocolate bars on store shelves. And the letter...
What was the date?
The late 2000, December of 2000.
How come we never heard about this?
It was in Australia, that's why.
We have internet. You would think that this would be a news item.
The letters claimed that there were 7 additional bars. They named Snickers, and also claimed that there were 7 additional bars that were going to be poisoned and put on sale to the public. So, as a precaution, Mars recalled a massive amount of their chocolate bars.
Well, that sounds like it would have been an inside job. Like, how else are you going to go with a syringe into the grocery store and...
I don't know.
Each candy bar?
But they recalled them anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, better safe than sorry, but people got way too much time on their hands. Next thing you know, they're blowing up courthouses and freeing the clown.
In 2006, Mr. T spearheaded an ad campaign in the UK again. Snickers must be huge in the UK.
Pity the nuts.
Well, they usually ended with Mr. T insulting someone for not doing a good enough job, and his catchphrase in these commercials was "Get some nuts."
Wow, not too subtle.
Snickers, get some nuts.
That's like snapping to a Slim Jim.
And I also, not too long ago, I don't know if you heard this, there's a connection with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and Snickers. When he was poor and living in Hawaii, he would often, at the same 7-Eleven, his neighborhood 7-Eleven, would go in, and when he was hungry, or when he was just about to work out and needed some energy, would shoplift a Snickers. It was like he did it, several times a week. And as he got notoriety and he became famous, it wore away at him that he felt guilty for doing this. So he went in and bought all the Snickers off the shelf from this 7-Eleven, and I think paid them back for an estimate of what he thought he had taken.
Oh, good. Like, you could have
years.
just done that and not bought all the Snickers. What if I'm hungry? I'm on a road trip. I stop in and it's like, oh yeah, The Rock was just here. He bought them all. Jerk. Well, he gave us a lot of money.
Well, it's not like they're not going to get more, right? We'll never see Snickers again. The Rock bought them all.
But if I stop in there that day specifically for a Snickers, and The Rock
I think you're missing. You're missing the big picture here.
That is the picture. All right, fine.
So, what is your relationship with the Snickers bar?
They always find their way. The little families, the little fun sizes.
Yeah.
Always find their way into my lunchbox after Halloween. I prefer a payday. If you're gonna go nuts, then I want to go full on nuts. And I do like a payday, although I don't like the chocolate paydays. But the Snickers, listen, it's not like I've ever gone to the grocery store and specifically bought a Snickers. I'll buy a Reese's peanut butter cup before. Snickers
will, if I am hungry and that's why I'm looking at a vending machine, invariably I'll think of that. Snickers really satisfies. I'll go to the Snickers.
So that works.
I don't know if it actually is the thing in the vending machine that will fill me up the most, but psychologically, I think that it will. Yeah.
You're like, all right, well, they tell me it satisfies, so I guess I'm going. And
it is one of my favorite candies, I have to say.
There's nothing wrong with the Snickers.
Snickers is probably in my top 5 candy bars. Not number one. I wouldn't say it's number 1. I still would go for like maybe a classic Hershey bar. You can't not go with that, but it's in the top 5, I'll have to say.
Hershey has become very waxy for me. If I'm going to eat chocolate, I'm eating dark chocolate first of all, which Hershey does make a special dark. But, they do. I like I like the almond as well, and the Mr. Good bar. I think Mr. Good bar is not spoken of enough. Is that the one with? That's the one with peanuts. That's the one with peanuts. I'm thinking the one with the Rice Krispie trees. That's Crackle. That's Crackle. Yes. That's Crackle. Is that the poor man's Nestle Crunch, or is it the other way around? I don't know. One day we're going to have to cover it to find out. The Crackle bar, first. Yes, the Crackle bar. Crackle. But there you have it. That's my concession today. The Snickers. Fascinating. Yes. The Snickers bar. I can't believe you came up with that rock trivia. Steal a Snickers. You could be in jail right now.
You can't jail The Rock. He's probably the most likable man in show business, right?
Back then, I don't know. Sometimes people want to just knock you down because you're too nice. I never met the man.
Neither have I.
I've seen
one day.
I've seen The Rock.
I've seen The Rock. I know of him.
I've seen of The Rock. I see a rock. There's a couple of rock. I had one on my shoe the other day. Got it out. All right, let's go. Bugsy Malone, 1976. So this is going back. This is a throwback because, as we stated, this was all over HBO back in the day.
So again, it was nothing. If nothing else was on, this is what you were forced to watch, and you watched it as many times as they presented it.
Yeah, and you just right. It was entertainment, and it was kids. It was kids doing adult stuff. Yeah. So you're like, all right, this is kind of cool. The guns were cool with the splurge pie guns or whatever.
Released in later 1976. Its premiere in the States was September 1976. Now, this was directed by Alan Parker,
who's got a pretty good pedigree.
Oh, and this was his first film. So before that, he was well known in England because he directed, I don't know if he was well known or his commercials were well known.
Okay.
But, just as an extension of maybe him being successful in England, the movie itself was much more successful in the UK. Than it was in the US. And maybe Alan Parker has something to do with that. Maybe he brought his English sensibility to it. But as you say, yes, he went on to direct many, and a lot of them were musicals, big movies. One of them being Fame, another one being Pink Floyd, The Wall with Bob Geldof, The Commitments,
which is a $5 movie for me.
Oh, really?
I adore that movie. I love that movie.
And Evita with Madonna and
this was
Antonio Banderas. I blanked on his name for a second.
I forgot that he was even in that.
Yeah, but other movies as well. So he wasn't just like a impresario of musicals. Yeah. Midnight Express, Mississippi Burning, Angela's Ashes.
Crazy. And again, you see this guy's name and you're like, I never even heard of this guy. And yet look at this resume.
Well, I've heard of him. But I had to be reminded as to what.
Well, that's what I'm saying, which is you're not seeing Spielberg and going, I can name 20 of those movies. That guy. I mean, this guy filmed some solid movies that we all know. And it's funny because, you listen to the Robert Rodriguez or the Bob Zemeckis, and they talk about, filming with kids and what a nightmare it is. I did not see a single thing where anybody complained about filming with children.
In regards to this movie.
In regards to this movie. It didn't sound like there was any drama on the set, that they were troublesome.
I did read something that was a bit amusing, that there was a rivalry between the U.S. actors and the U.K. actors on set.
Okay.
That they had a
like
bit
the real
of
Dapper Dans and Fat Sams.
I think so.
They took sides. They took sides. Yeah. So it's an interesting concept, and apparently it bore out of Parker telling stories to his kids, like when they're in car rides and stuff.
Yeah, you would think it's first the novice who is just watching this for the first time. It might occur to you, is this based on a Broadway show or something? No, it came out of Alan Parker.
Yeah. And I think a large part of the charm is Paul Williams. There's a couple songs in here that could have easily fit into the Muppets.
Oh, I wrote this down. I'm like, this is a Muppet song. This is a Muppet song, right?
Yeah.
But that's because of Paul Williams, right?
We're the very best at being bad.
It's not because they're the Muppet sounding. It's because it's Paul Williams sounding.
I know. And this guy was like friggin' top of the charts at that point. He was everywhere.
Again, we tried to tie these two movies together as being musicals, the movies that we chose for today's episode. And we had a bunch of movies to choose from for the second feature. It ended up being Bugsy Malone, but on the list was Phantom of the Paradise, which is also a Paul Williams scored movie. So that's more of a cult thing, and hopefully we'll cover it on a later date.
Yeah, because I was not familiar with that.
Yeah.
And I think it was harder to find I don't remember now streaming, but this I found on Pluto. So you do have to sit through commercials. You said you got the DVD.
I got the DVD from my library. Again, it was straight from China. So
that's crazy.
But the movie played in English for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Worst case, you would have either just watch it subtitled.
Yeah.
Well, it couldn't be any worse, because the one thing I will say, which is it's very disconcerting when these kids break into songs and it's clearly adult voices coming out of
that was because of time constraints. Paul Williams agreed to do the score, and he was on tour while they were, in pre-production of Bugsy Malone. So what he had to do was take his touring group into the studio at various stops of this tour that he was on
and just record
the songs. And he would send them in the mail to Alan Parker. And Alan Parker really didn't have any time to re-record them. He had to accept them as they were.
So these were almost like just demo reels. Like here's the song, here's the tempo, have the kids learn it, mimic it, and then we're going to get someone else a little more age appropriate to sing it.
Well, that was, I think, the hope, but because they had no time or money to do that, they ended up just using whatever Paul sent over. so
this kid Fizzy, who the janitor who wants to, he wants to move on. He's got aspirations to be a dancer. His voice the tenor is James Earl Jones level.
Yeah, somebody that sounds like they've been smoking their entire life.
Swing low. It's like, wow, dude.
Both Paul Williams and Alan Parker say if they find fault, and they're both very fond of this movie. Okay. If they find fault with this at all, it's because they should have had the kids sing these songs. And I agree. I'm assuming on set they were singing. I mean, the lip syncing is... I don't think that they were. I think that they were just straight lip syncing on set.
Really? I find that hard. Like it's one thing to just... Well, I guess you're right, though, because you have to match the vocals.
Although the few songs that is where it's obviously Paul Williams singing, keep those, because I think that is, he brings his own flavor to his own songs. I didn't have a problem with hearing his voice.
No,
but
and I think he does sing the one Bugsy song.
And Fat Sam's Grand Slam, right? He sings that.
Sam. It makes me laugh watching these kids. It's such a throwback. And again, like there's a whole genre. You remember like Kid Bop, where there was like a whole series of CDs that came out right around the time my kids were little in the 2000s, where they would just take like the pop songs of the day and kids would re-record them.
I think that still exists. They still do that.
It's probably like on, volume 86 by now.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's a whole genre, and you're speaking to these, make more movies where kids are just remaking, like make Star Wars, but with the kids or something. But
or do an original story, but with all kids.
Well, that makes sense. These kids are doing very adult stuff. And that sometimes, I mean, like I said, there's, Dapper Dan's got a little mustache. They're all wearing suits. They're all, bullying each other. It's just, it's a weird thing. But as a kid, like, you can't help but like probably be mesmerized by this thing.
What's funny is that the story is basically Dick Tracy with Warren Beatty, but with songs.
There really is no story. You got two warring clubs going up against each other during it's not even Prohibition, because they're all so. Was it like the 30s, late 20s, early 30s? I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's where this movie is set in. All it is are two warring gang, Fat Sam and Dapper Dan, and then you've got Bugsy Malone and Blousey Brown caught in the middle, having their relationship.
And I will tell you, out of all these characters, Bugsy Malone is the most uninteresting character out of all these.
You're right. His story is not the story of the movie.
No,
the story of the movie is Fat Sam versus Dapper Dan.
Right, you're following him in between this major storyline. And Blousey actually has it's more her story.
The funny thing is this actress who played Blousey, who is, let me find her now.
Florrie Duger.
This was her only film credit.
And the only reason I read she got this is because the original girl that was cast grew too tall. She was too tall to go up against Scott Baio.
And they ended up putting her in the background somewhere.
Yeah, which that sucks. I had to hit puberty then. Oh, what is up with all these women that talk like Betty Boop in the 30s? Like, were they like huffing helium back then? Like, what is going on? I talk like this. it boggles my mind. Nobody talks like that anymore. And yet you watch these old movies. It's a weird.
I love listening to Fat Sam talk, the actor. Whenever he says you, it's always use.
Use. Well,
believe use me.
Well, they're playing into stereotypes. But what's nice is, so we're introduced to Fat Sam and in his Grand Slam speakeasy, and he's the narrator, but you lose that narration like 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
He doesn't really go back. And at one point he says, "Tell me, what's funny?" And I'm like, did Pesci steal that? Did Goodfellas actually steal that line? I'm like, oh, Fat Sam said it first.
This Fat Sam's Grand Slam song. This is another one of those things I'm talking about. It's like muscle memory. I'm like, I haven't thought of this song in decades. And yet here it is. And I remember every word.
Yeah. What's funny is the opening credits shows you half the movie. I'm like, this is usually the end
this
credits.
is like the greatest hits before you've seen the greatest hits.
I can't wait to see that scene. Like, what? That was a weird choice. I just thought that was a really weird choice.
And the other thing, you get introduced early on to Fat Sam and his goons, and one of them, the joke is Knuckles, and he doesn't like Knuckles cracking his knuckles. And he's like, well, that's why my name is Knuckles. I don't care. Don't do it.
Yeah, we got Fat Sam, we got Knuckles, we got Snake Eyes, and then we have Louie.
Snake Eyes who plays with dice. Like, just stop doing that. It annoys me.
Well,
but I'm Snake Eyes.
I'm Snake Eyes.
All the cars have bicycle pedals.
These cars, I'm telling you right now, any kid that watched this back in the day, and maybe kids even now, want one of those bikes, those cars.
Yeah.
They were just pedal cars. They were like, one step above.
And they were practical. They actually worked.
Yeah, no, and they were cool. This is, I will say, the costumes, the set pieces are fantastic. Like I said, all these guys are in suits. The girls look like flappers. Everyone's, the costume design, the set design, the props of the guns that shoot cream puffs, the cars. Like, it's a cool world.
I was shocked reading the history of this, is that it wasn't bankrolled by a major studio, that he had to shop it to major studios after it was done. Yeah. It was mostly financed by the Rank organization, which
Rank and Bass?
Rank. The Rank organization, again in the UK, because Alan Parker's was very successful there. Rank, I think I know them as making lots of those Hammer type horror movies in the early 70s.
That seems like a departure. So
he finally sold it to Paramount to distribute in the US after it was actually
made. It's interesting because, outside of Jodie Foster, none of these kids had any name recognition.
No, there was no Chachi back then.
No, he actually got that job because of this movie.
Yeah.
I think Gary Marshall saw him in this movie, and I never cared for Chachi's character. Thought he was a bit of a punk, but here he's just non-committal. He's just a kid,
Yeah.
He's trying to do, I don't even know if he's trying to do the right thing. I got the impression that he was lazy and people just kept throwing money at him. Hey, you want a job? Okay. I'll take $200. Immediately gets beat up and they steal it.
But the highlight of this for me is the splurge guns. Pie in the face, machine splurge guns, as they call them. So whenever there's a mob hit in this movie, out come these old-timey looking machine guns, and they fire cream pies. And any kid that gets hit with one of these, they get hit in the face, and it's a freeze frame. So the narrator of Fat Sam, when he is narrating, speaks as if these kids are now dead.
You never see them again. You never see it. Like you said, at one point, four of his guys get taken out in a setup, and he's putting out cardboard cutouts in the window so everyone thinks that they're still there. And yet you get to the end of this movie and they negate it all.
Yeah, because everybody's getting shot in the face.
Every single character should have been dead in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
No, just the ones we want to get rid of.
So Fat Sam doesn't have these super guns. All they have are regular pies that they have to throw. So they can't compete.
Dapper Dan somehow like cornered the market on these guns.
So the movie is the two warring gangs and Fat Sam realizing he has to somehow get his hands on these guns in order to compete with Dapper Dan. Throughout, the dialogue is really funny to listen to, and it's really rat-a-tat,
Yeah, it is very rat-a-tat.
2030 style dialogue. When Bugsy and Blousy first meet, he offers to carry her bag home. What do you got in here? A couple of books. You should start a library.
And they play it straight.
Yeah.
Like nobody, there's no like jokes per se. It's just everything leading into the one thing I'll say is that there's a scene where there's a kid getting shaved in the barbershop. I'm like, that is a complete and utter waste of money right there. But yeah,
he gets killed. He gets shot in the face, right?
They shoot Dandy Dan's gang actually takes out Doodles because he drops his gun. But I'm like, but he picked it up. Yep. He didn't leave it behind.
Yeah.
He picked it back up. And who knows that he dropped it? Everyone else was gone. But no. Hey, boss, I ain't getting no flour. That's because you're going to be even with the fishes. And they all just back up and cream him. Oh, yeah. Dandy Dan. And they're all wearing like smoking jackets and does the janitor ever get his audition? He doesn't, does he? No. So there's multiple storylines that go absolutely nowhere. So again, you've got other characters going on in here that are a little more interesting than Bugsy Malone. I mean, Blousy does get the biggest story arc. We don't know. I mean, at the end, they're off to Hollywood, but whether or not she ever makes it, who knows? But yeah, so Fizzy, the janitor, Leroy, the kid who all of a sudden they're putting him in a ring to box without a helmet on. Yeah. The guy he's up against has a helmet, but no, we're not going to, and even Tallulah, who is Jodie Foster, like they just kind of come and go. There's sequences and songs about them, but nothing ever happens to them.
Interesting though, that because Jodie Foster was known. This was not her first rodeo.
She was the only name associated.
And why she wasn't the female lead, I don't know. Why they made her Tallulah, which
she literally was a madam.
Maybe because maybe because they considered her, wizened past her years, and that's why she was cast in that role.
I do like that girl who played Blousy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were like playing second fiddle and all of a sudden, she was cute, and again, they're wearing era appropriate attire.
Yep. And it's got era appropriate casual racism, because at one point they go to the Hung Fu Shin laundry where Fat Sam's gang gets ambushed. And
they all look like adults that are working there. They did not look like kids.
Yeah. So why put mustaches on these kids if they're kid actors?
It's a little disconcerting. Like no one has beards per se, but yeah, like I said, Dandy Dan, who is like 8 years old, is walking around with a mustache. My son's 22 and he can't even grow a mustache that big. Yeah. It's a little off-putting at times, some of the stuff that's going on. But like you said, the cars, there's a car chase. And Fat Sam pays Bugsy to drive him out to the secret meet. And next thing you know, they're in the middle of the woods, and yet they just keep running into traffic and people picnicking and lots of cows and chickens. But it's fun. It's they're shooting each other left and right with these stupid guns, and it's meant to desensitize the violence because they are being killed. They're just being creamed. There's that scene where Fat Sam's loony or whatever, like they're trying to invent a machine gun. And it blows up and the guy gets incinerated. He's nothing but his clothing.
Covered in whipped cream. I
wouldn't want anything to do with this, Fat Sam. It's fun. I don't think I had the emotional attachment you did with the songs. There were a couple. Like he goes to the soup kitchen to recruit these guys, and that's a down, down, down. That's a fun song. The one song that I think we both agreed sounded like we're the very best at being bad. And I think that was Fat Sam's guys. And they do like this dance out in the streets
as they're like robbing fruit stands and
correct,
stuff.
Right. Yeah. But it's very well choreographed and it's toe tapping. And this could easily have been in the Muppet movie.
And, even Jodie Foster's song, "My name is Tallulah."
I'll wait to see her pantaloons. I did notice she kisses him on the forehead at one point. And then when he cut back, the lipstick is completely over on the other side of his head. I'm like, I guess we didn't have a continuity editor for that.
But I wanted to watch it again just to pick up on all the dialogue that I missed the first time. Blousy won't see you. Well, tell her I'm sick. You're sick? Yeah, sick of waiting.
Yeah, no, again, there's great lines that just kind of are throwaways. And they never once, like I said, it's played straight the whole way through.
Yeah.
Yep, we really live in this time, and everyone is down in the dumps, and we're just trying to deal with all these people.
And of course, there has to be like some uncertainty at the end between Bugsy and because he thinks he's two-timing her, and he says, "Oh, I bought us tickets to Hollywood," but then he gets robbed. But he doesn't tell her he got robbed. He doesn't tell her.
Yeah, I guess he's too proud.
And then, as you said, Leroy comes in as a boxer just so to give some Fat Sam some more muscle. So at the end, there's a big showdown because now Fat Sam has stolen a bunch of Dapper Dan's splurge guns. So they both have splurge guns. So Dapper Dan and his goons show up at Fat Sam's speakeasy, and everybody gets it in the face, in the stomach, in the back. You know, they're all covered in whipped cream, but yet they don't die.
No, but then they all realize, what are we doing?
We're a bunch of kids. We're play.
A bunch of kids. We need to just hang out. So those other guys all died for nothing. Knuckles melted, and we'll never get him back again. It doesn't matter. But I think it's Fizzy who's playing the piano, and he. But there is one I really liked. There's one little scene where Leroy, when Fat Sam's gang finds the guns where Dapper Dan is holding them, and this is how they steal them. And Leroy takes out some straw and puts it on his head and starts to sing, "My name is Tallulah." Hey, what are you doing? Put that down. Straighten up.
And then one of the kids they call Babyface, who's the smallest kid.
He's like a toddler.
But there's one scene, if you noticed, when a kid has a little kid, like they're supposed to be mother and son.
Some creepy ass.
It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, it is odd. It's a little disconcerting. There's a character named Razzmatazz who is part of the Speakeasy, and I saw the IMDb credits. Michael Jackson. I'm like, Michael Jackson? No, not the Michael Jackson, but a Michael Jackson. But I looked up. So do you know? So the kid who played Fat Sam, John Cassisi, just went away for money laundering and bribery.
No,
he was sentenced 2 to 6 years in prison.
just recently?
2015. He was director of global construction for Citigroup, and he pleaded guilty to money laundering and bribery.
But that means he's out by now, right?
He is probably out now. Yeah.
I read that he was picked because Alan Parker visited Brooklyn area schools, and one of the ones that he went to, he asked the kids, "Who's the worst kid in this class?" And they all pointed to him, John Cassisi.
So how would you know that this kid could act?
I don't know, but that's good enough for me. He's
all right, kid. We're gonna give you a lucrative contract. Come on over. So it pays to be the class bully.
I guess it does. And then after this movie, he went on to star in Fish, the show with Abe Vigoda.
Yeah. Well, I think he started out on Barney Miller, and then when they did the spinoff, he was on board.
So the last song is "We Could Have Been Anything We Wanted To," and that's also very Muppety sounding song.
Yes, yeah. Not that we're throwing shade at Mr. Williams, because I think,
And as everybody's getting it at the end with the pies in the face, the reporter that you see on the radio that the camera pans to, and they're not even there in the speakeasy, they get a pie in the face.
Right. Well, you got to spread the love. Yeah, this ending has a really weird Rocky Horror vibe to it. Yeah, because again, you're setting up the world that everyone's getting killed by these things, and yet we get to the end sequence and we're all having fun with these pies.
Also, that's something they don't do anymore is when the credits play themselves out, the music isn't over. So for a minute, you get a black screen after the credits are done, and the music keeps playing.
You're like, oh, we're going to get an end credit?
I'm like, what's the point of doing that? Would people have actually sat there and, until the very last second after the music was done? I'm like, just fade the music with the credits when the credits are over.
They didn't have time.
Yeah.
You barely had time to get these kids to learn the songs.
So this was not a hit in the U.S. In the U.K., it was. It made its money back in the U.K. They actually staged... Because I was saying before, maybe somebody would think, is this based on a musical? They actually staged musicals after the fact.
Which makes perfect sense. This would be great on stage, just as like Newsies.
And mostly in England, not surprisingly, because it was a hit there, The first production was done in 1983, directed by Mickey Dolenz.
Get out of here.
Starring as Tallulah, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a pedigree right there. Huh.
But yeah, like I said, in the US, it was not a hit. It was relegated to second bill on a double feature with the Bad News Bears, which had already been out for 6 months.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we're going to hitch a ride with this group.
So I don't know how they can even come up with box office figures for this from that if it was part of a double feature with another movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, was not a success theatrically, but as we said, it played on HBO all the time, so I saw it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone out there is listening and just the cream puff guns, even if you don't remember what the name of the movie was, you're like, holy crap, I remember that. And Scott Baio owes his career to this movie.
It was part of the Cannes Film Festival in 1976. Critics loved it. Roger Ebert gave the film 3.5 stars out of 4. Gene Siskel gave it 3.5 stars out of 4. So Siskel and Ebert, 2 thumbs up.
The bigger question is, what did Janet Maslin think?
Maslin. Well, I don't think
maybe she wasn't.
It was Vincent Canby of the New York Times that reviewed this.
Oh, he's a curmudgeon. And
he wrote, "The world that Alan Parker has created in Bugsy Malone is very peculiar, but he is remarkably successful considering the terrible odds against such a stunt in the first place."
Yeah, no, I just like the first movie. I applaud them for for going out on a limb and like, you know what? Let's make this movie, but with kids. It's like, all right, are you kidding me?
Pauline Kael of the New Yorker said, "We're not watching actors in a story. We're watching kids doing a stunt. The way the audience does for a chimp on the Carson show."
Wow. I will say this does play like an extended Little Rascals episode.
And thankfully, it's only like, 89 minutes long?
Yeah, no, it's not long.
Yeah.
You get in, you get out. Like I said, there's a lot of characters you meet that kind of come and go and don't really have any story arc. But, I think they're right. They were riding on the concept more than an actual story. The songs and just the fact that they're kids is enough to carry us through. You're either in or you're not.
On a UK 2003 listing of the 100 greatest musicals of all time, it shows up as number 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's all.
That just goes to show how popular this was.
That's Paul Williams right there.
In the UK.
Okay.
All right. So how many buckets would we give out of 5?
I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5.
I am going to go the same, 3.5.
Okay.
So yeah, it's solid. It brings back lots of memories.
Yeah. It doesn't. I mean, I think as a kid, you appreciate it more because you are watching kids doing grown up stuff. Here, It does play off as being creepy and humorless at times, but there's a nostalgia factor as far as, look at these kids and you can't go wrong with the Paul Williams songs.
But I agree. I think it probably would have even been better if they had the kids sing the songs.
Yeah. Well,
I have this weird, other.
According to you, I think everyone was in agreement. It is what it is.
Right. Right.
But this is something if it showed up on off Broadway or even Broadway, bring in a bunch of kids. Bring in a bunch of kids and do this and have fun with it. Yeah. Solid entertainment. I was entertained.
All right. What else did we do this week?
You're going to laugh at me because this is completely against my grain, but I kept seeing these commercials for a new show on CBS where Kathy Bates, they bring her back and she's playing Matlock.
I've seen this.
Okay. So first
not
of all,
the show, but the commercial.
Okay. She looks fantastic. And I read she lost like 88 pounds. But so I don't know why, because Matlock and CBS are like, my grandparents' station and something. I never watched Matlock with Andy Griffith. It was something geriatric old people watched. And I don't like courtroom procedurals per se, because they're always silly and they're forced and they end up doing stuff. And this one plays right into it. So she is kind of like this aged law attorney who is returning, after years of retirement or whatever. And she's the doting old lady who doesn't, she always seems to be goofy, almost like a Columbo type of thing. And everyone around her in the room is smarter. And there's not a likable character in this show except for her. But at the end of the episode, they do this big twist where you find out she's not really who she claims to be and that she has ulterior motives. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I probably won't watch anymore, but I watched the first episode because I was intrigued enough. And they make reference to the original TV show and why she chose that name. And I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it because it is a bit of a twist at the end. And you're like, oh, all right, well, this is not what I thought it was going to be at all. And this is kind of interesting. So, but yeah, Matlock on CBS is what I went with.
Since I don't have Showtime, I never have seen this show before. I know it's been out for a couple of years, but season 1 of Yellow Jackets just dropped on Netflix. And I am hooked. I binged right through season 1. There is a season 2 on Showtime. Unfortunately, only season 1 is on.
This is how they get you with these. All right, so it is on Netflix.
It is on Netflix. It's about a girls' soccer team, a girls' high school soccer team.
Right.
That their plane goes down over the Pacific Northwest, I think. So they're deep in Bigfoot country.
Is there Bigfoot?
There's something going on. I don't know if it's Bigfoot. It hasn't been revealed yet in season 1.
So there's a paranormal or a supernatural element?
There is a paranormal element.
Get out of here. I thought this was more like a live where,
it's that. Okay. It's that, on one hand, but there's also one of the girls has psychic abilities and there's some kind of evil dead spirit going on in the woods that's moving one of the girls to do things. And
all right, you got me hooked. I had no clue that show was about that.
So it juxtaposes between present day with these girls as adults whoever survived, I should say. Oh,
this is like a It thing.
Yeah,
where they kind of flash back to them as kids, and
then flashes back to.
So we know that they survive. Okay.
So we know that at one point that they got rescued, but we don't know how because you haven't seen that yet.
Right.
Apparently, a season 2 exists on Showtime, and they are starting a season 3. Now, this premiered in 2021, this season 1 on Showtime. So I'm thinking to myself, this has to be, they can't run this for very much longer because these girls are going to age out of the young girls. So,
well, we're seeing that with Stranger Things now. These kids are in college.
So hopefully, and this is a great show, but it's one of these things where probably just tell your story and get out. If it's only 3 seasons long and you tell a good story and you end it, then I'm all for that. So I hope that's the way that they go.
Okay. Oh, interesting. You've got me intrigued now.
Yeah. Hopefully Netflix, come on, get Netflix. Season 2. Get season 2.
There's got to be, I don't know how that works. You got to get you hooked,
And now I want to see it. So am I forced to get Showtime now?
Right. Yeah. We gave you your first hit for free.
Yep.
All right. So I am intrigued about next week's episode because I know that you've talked about this backup feature more than once, and I am not familiar with it.
Yes. Thankfully, it's on Prime for a nominal fee.
Okay.
But it's there. So what we're covering. We decided not to cover Venom. Sorry to Venom fans out there.
We learned our lesson on the first one.
Yeah.
And again, that's a movie I trashed all over initially. And now I kind of appreciate it for what it is. Because it's very tongue in cheek. It's very goofy.
But you're not giving me Spider-Man, but you're giving me a horse.
I don't know. I've not watched the second one, and I have no intentions of watching the second one. So I do not need to watch the third one either.
So we're not covering Venom.
Yeah, sorry.
Instead, we're looking around and seeing what can we cover that's out there. Maybe we'll look to streaming. And if you've ever listened to this show, you know that I talk about the 4:30 movie constantly, which shaped my cinematic Appreciation. It was a show that ran on ABC from the late 60s to 1981. They would have Godzilla weeks. They'd have sci-fi
Planet of
weeks.
the Apes.
They'd have Planet of the Apes week. And this is how I saw all these movies, was thanks to Channel 7 ABC here in the New York area. Kevin Smith, his latest film is called The 4:30 Movie. It's not based on that ABC show.
No, because it does look like it's more like a cinematic.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I think the concept is there.
Maybe he took the title from it. I'd like to think so.
Sure. He's of our age.
Yeah. And so it's a coming of age movie about a group of friends that goes to their local theater, on a weekly basis from the early 80s. So it's right around that time.
Yeah. And everything that I'm seeing so far is that they're all unknowns.
Yeah, and it looks like it would be right up our alley, right? This is something that we would have done in 1981.
Yeah, look at Clerks and look at Mallrats. We'll get into his oeuvre because I don't think that we've really discussed Kevin Smith at all.
I don't believe so.
I think this is a good chance to kind of dive deeper into some of his stuff because he does speak to our generation. He's making Clerks 8 and all these other movies, but it looks interesting, and it is streaming. And we have not covered a straight to stream, although it did have a very, very limited theatrical run.
It was released theatrically in September, so it's been out for a couple of months.
All over Instagram, he's been promoting it, and now it looks like they're actually releasing it as a physical DVD Blu-ray as well. Good. But this other one's the one I'm intrigued about.
But yeah, we figured... okay, we're going to do Kevin Smith's 4:30 movie. Let's pair it with an actual 4:30 movie from that ABC show. So this movie haunted me since I saw it on the 4:30 movie.
It sounds like it might haunt me.
Bad Ronald is the name of it. What it is, it originally was a TV movie on ABC in 1974. So ABC already owned the rights to it, so they could play it as much as they wanted on their 4:30 movie. And play it they did because it was repeated many, many times. And I saw it a few times on that, even though I was dreading it every time I watched it, every time it was on.
Oh, so you're like drawn to the train wreck.
Yeah. So thankfully, I have it on DVD, of course, but it is on Amazon for, I think, $1.99 to rent. So hopefully they've cleaned it up and it's all nice and brand shiny new. So
will that take away some of the charm of it, though?
It might,
yeah, because
we'll
this
see.
Looks. I did find the newspaper clipping ad, but it was for the 8:30 movie. So they must have bounced it around a little bit. But,
so when it was originally,
I just do a quick Google image search for our Instagram graphics.
That's probably when it first premiered on ABC, and then it was demoted to the 4:30 movie.
4:30.
Yeah.
All right, we traumatized all these adults. Let's go after the kids now.
Exactly. So
again, you've talked about this, and I kind of forgot about it until you brought it up. But it's like, the guy lives in the wall of a house. Is that the premise?
Yes. I don't want to give too much away because we'll talk about it next week. But he lives in the walls of a house that is vacant, and then a family moves in and they don't know he's there.
But if it's a vacant house, why are you living in the walls? Just live in the house.
Because it was his house. And you'll see. There's reasons for it. There's reasons.
Okay. All right. As long as my questions are answered.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not entirely plausible, but
like the two movies we just covered were.
Right.
But that is next episode.
Yes, the 4:30 movie and Bad Ronald.
Okay. Hey, listen, just like Anthony at the top of the show, man, you listen and you want to call us out on something or give us praise or whatever, just say hi. We have an email address.
Yes, we do. TMI Podcast 2018 at gmail.com.
That was, I looked up our original episode of Joker, episode 79. That's how long ago. We're on 320 something right now. So that was a while ago. Crazy. All right. Well, thanks for listening. As always, we do appreciate you.
Yes, we do.
Always
Thank
a pleasure, Jim. Thank you.
Yes.
It's
always nice when we disagree as well, because it always seems we're on the same page.
I don't think either one of us sold it.
Yeah.
You put your feet in the ground. I stuck I'm willing to give it another shot.
Please do.
So
if you give that another shot, I'll watch Tenet again.
It was a good movie,
but not Invisible Man. There's no way. There's no way.
All right, fair enough.
All right. Until next time. Talk to you then. Bye.
You got it. All right, bye.
If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your podcasts on. Also, be sure to email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, Threads. Just go to tmiconfessionalspodcast.com. All of our links are there. And leave us a 5-star review. See you at the concession stand.
I talk like this.